My sister slapped my baby at a Christmas dinner. Said I was overreacting. Everyone just sat there. But then my military commander husband stood up, looked her dead in the eye, and said, "Get out." She never came back. Hi, I'm Natalie. Last Christmas, my sister Vanessa slapped my 6-month-old baby across the face during dinner while our entire family watched. Nobody moved, nobody spoke. Drop a comment, and let me know where you're listening from and what time it is for you right now. I'd love to know who's part of our community. We need to back up for a second. It wasn't Christmas, it was Thanksgiving weekend, at a sterile lakeside estate in Michigan, that Haley, my sister, had chosen specifically for the aesthetic. The whole house was done up in 50 shades of beige. Cream carpets, oatmeal walls, ecru drapes. Even the Thanksgiving spread looked like it had been color-corrected to match her brand. Haley was launching her new wellness empire, Pure Life, and this weekend was supposed to be the backdrop for her big reveal. My husband Connor and I had driven 6 hours to get there with our 7-month-old son Leo. Connor had not wanted to come. He is special ops, a man who assesses threats for a living, and he had flagged my family as a hostile environment years ago. But I begged him. I wanted Leo to know his grandparents. I wanted one normal holiday. I should have listened to the expert. The trouble started before dinner was even served. Haley was in the living room, setting up her shot. She was wearing a prototype of her new sponsored yoga set, this pale, buttery fabric that probably cost more than my mortgage payment. She had 3 ring lights set up, and a drone hovering near the ceiling, creating this low, buzzing noise that was already putting everyone on edge. Leo was in his high chair nearby. He was teething, drooling a little, just being a baby, but to Haley, he was a prop. She wanted him in the background of her live stream to add that authentic family warmth she was always preaching about to her followers. She positioned his chair so he would be just over her shoulder while she talked about gratitude and mindfulness. I was in the kitchen, helping my mother, Susan, with the turkey. My father, Richard, was mixing drinks, already 3 scotches deep, to deal with the stress of Haley's production schedule. Nobody was paying attention to Leo except Connor, who was watching from the doorway like a sentry. Then, it happened. Leo let out a little burp. It was not loud. It was not dramatic. But a second later, he spit up. Just a little bit of formula. But because Haley had positioned him so close, the spray landed directly on the leg of her pristine, prototype yoga pants. Haley did not gasp. She did not jump back. She looked down at the spot on her leg with a look of pure, unadulterated disgust. Then she looked at Leo, and without a word, without a single hesitation, she reached out and slapped him. Hard. The sound was sickening, a sharp crack of skin on skin that echoed in the high-ceilinged room. Leo went silent for a second, his little face crumpling in shock before he let out a wail that shattered the curated peace of the lakeside retreat. I dropped the serving spoon I was holding. It clattered onto the tile floor, but nobody looked at me. Everyone was looking at Haley. She was wiping her leg with a napkin, muttering about stains and product launches, completely ignoring the screaming infant she had just struck. My mother froze. My father took a long sip of his drink. Neither of them moved toward the baby. Neither of them scolded Haley. They just paused, like they were waiting for the director to yell cut so they could reset the scene. They were paralyzed by the script they had been following for 20 years, the one where Haley is the star and everyone else is expendable. But Connor did not wait. He moved. 1 second he was in the doorway, the next he was between Haley and the high chair. He did not yell. He did not make a scene. He just picked Leo up, cradled him against his chest to check his cheek, and then turned to me. His voice was low, flat, and terrifyingly calm. It was the voice of a man who has neutralized a threat. "Pack the car, Anna. We are leaving." Haley looked up then, annoyed that her live stream had been interrupted. "Oh my God, relax," she scoffed. "He is fine." He ruined the shot. I barely touched him. Connor turned slowly to face her. He did not say a word. He just looked at her with a gaze so cold it could have frozen the lake outside. He stood there, a physical shield between my son and my sister, and for the first time in my life, I saw the difference between a family that demands silence and a man who demands safety. "Get out of my way," Haley said, trying to reach for her camera. Connor did not move an inch. You do not come near him again, he said. Not today. Not ever. My mother finally found her voice, fluttering over not to check on Leo, but to soothe Haley. Connor, please, you are overreacting. It is Thanksgiving, let us not ruin the holiday. I looked at my mother, fussing over the aggressor while my son sobbed in his father's arms. The beige walls seemed to close in. The smell of roasting turkey suddenly made me nauseous. I did not argue. I did not ask why they were protecting her. I just walked past them, grabbed the diaper bag, and followed the only person in that house who actually knew what loyalty meant. The drive home was silent, not the comfortable silence of a road trip, but the heavy, pressurized silence of a bomb squad truck driving away from an explosion. Connor drove with one hand on the wheel, his eyes scanning the snowy highway like he was still on patrol. I sat in the passenger seat, twisting my wedding ring, waiting for the fallout. I did not have to wait long. We were barely across the state line when my phone lit up. It was my mother, Susan. I stared at the screen, letting it ring. I knew what this call was. It was the cleanup crew. I answered on the fourth ring, putting it on speaker so Connor could hear. Anna. My mother's voice was breathless, tight with anxiety, but it wasn't anxiety for Leo, it was anxiety for the schedule. Where did you go? We were just about to serve the pie. Haley is devastated. You ruined the flow of the evening. Haley hit my son, I said. My voice sounded strange to my own ears. Flat. Detached. Oh, stop it, Susan snapped. She did not hit him. She brushed him away. He was spitting up on a $3,000 prototype, Anna. She was startled. You know how sensitive she is to textures. There is a handprint on his face. Mom, you are exaggerating. You have always been dramatic, but this is concerning. Her tone shifted then. It went from annoyed to clinical. A tone she usually reserved for discussing her friends' failed marriages. Haley mentioned you seemed erratic before dinner. Manic, almost. We are worried about you, Anna. Are you sure you are taking care of yourself? Postpartum psychosis is very real, and it can make you see things that are not there. I felt the air leave my lungs. There it was. The narrative. The whisper campaign. They were not just denying the assault. They were rewriting my sanity to cover it up. If I was crazy, then Haley was innocent. If I was having an episode, then the slap was just a hallucination, and the golden child remained untarnished. I looked at Connor. He did not take his eyes off the road, but his jaw was set so hard a muscle twitched in his cheek. He reached over and took my hand. A silent confirmation that I was not crazy, that the red mark on our son's face was real. In that moment, the fog that had clouded my entire childhood finally lifted. I realized exactly what my role was. I looked at the phone, listening to my mother list the symptoms she thought I had, and I understood the mechanism of our family. It is a simple, brutal architecture. A narcissistic family is like a cult. It needs an idol to worship, and it needs a sacrifice to burn. Haley was the golden child. She was the idol. Her job was to shine, to succeed, to project the image of perfection that my parents craved but could never achieve themselves. She could do no wrong, because if she did wrong, the family's reflection would crack. But a system that produces that much ego also produces a lot of toxic waste, the insecurity, the cruelty, the mistakes. That waste has to go somewhere. That is where I came in. I was the scapegoat. My job was to be the sewer. I was the container for everything they did not want to admit about themselves. When Haley failed a class, it was because I distracted her. When my father drank too much, it was because my tuition was too expensive. And now, when Haley assaulted an infant, it was because I was mentally unstable. They needed me to be the villain so she could stay the hero. It was not personal, it was structural. We think you need help, Susan continued, her voice dripping with faux concern. Haley knows a great wellness center. We can pay for a week. Just apologize to her, admit you overreacted, and we can fix this. Fix it? I asked. Yes. Fix the damage you did to her launch. She is very upset, Anna. This brand deal is huge for her. You need to make this right. I looked out the window at the gray, frozen landscape rushing by. They did not care that Leo was hurt. They did not care that I was terrified. They only cared that the idol had been scratched. I am not apologizing, I said, and I am not crazy, but you are right about one thing, Mom. I do need help. I need to get as far away from you people as possible. If you hang up, Susan threatened, her voice turning icy, do not expect us to chase you. You are cutting yourself off. No, I said. I am cutting you out. I ended the call, I blocked the number, then I blocked my father, then Haley. I sat there in the silence, watching the battery icon on my phone turn red. It felt like I had just cut off a limb to save the body. It hurt, but for the first time in 29 years, the bleeding had stopped. I thought it was over. I thought walking away was the end of the war. I was naive. I did not know that for people like Haley, silence is not an answer. It is an act of aggression, and she was about to declare total war. Haley did not wait. While I was packing my life into boxes, she was weaponizing hers. The next morning, I woke up to a notification that my phone had been tagged in a video. It was Haley. She was sitting on the floor of her bedroom, wearing an oversized gray sweatshirt, part of her vulnerable collection. Her eyes were red-rimmed, and she was crying. Not the ugly, snotty crying of real grief, but the pretty, tear-streaked crying that looks good on camera. I didn't want to make this video, she whispered, her voice trembling perfectly. But I have to speak my truth. Yesterday, at what was supposed to be a beautiful family celebration, I was attacked. I sat up in bed, my heart hammering against my ribs. Attacked? My sister, Haley continued, has been struggling with her mental health for a long time. We've tried to help her. We've tried to support her. But yesterday, she had a psychotic break. She became violent. She attacked me in my own home because she was jealous of my success. I watched, horrified, as she pulled down the collar of her sweatshirt to reveal a faint, red scratch on her collarbone. She hurt me, Haley sobbed. And then she threatened to destroy everything I've built. She said she was going to ruin my reputation if I didn't give her money. I gasped. Money? I had never asked for a dime. I'm scared, Haley said, looking directly into the camera. Not just for myself, but for my business. I have a huge partnership launching next week with Pure Life, a brand that stands for peace and wellness. And my sister is threatening to sabotage it with lies because she knows how much it means to me. This deal is worth $500,000. It's my future, and she wants to burn it down. She wiped a tear away. I'm telling you this because if you see hate coming from her, please know it's not real. It's sickness. And I'm exploring my legal options to protect myself and my brand. Please, just send love. I need it right now. The video ended. It had been up for 3 hours. It had 400,000 views. I scrolled through the comments. They were a landslide of support. Stay strong, Haley. Jealousy is a disease. Get well soon, sis. Protect your peace, queen. Sue her. And then. The threats. Direct messages from strangers telling me I was a monster. People finding my professional architect profile and leaving 1-star reviews calling me unstable and violent. My hands were shaking so hard I dropped the phone on the bed. She had flipped the script. She had taken her violence and projected it onto me. She had taken her greed and called it my extortion. It was a masterclass in Darvo. Deny, attack, and reverse victim and offender. Connor walked in with coffee. He took one look at my face and set the mugs down. What happened? I couldn't speak. I just pointed at the phone. He watched the video. His face didn't change. He didn't get angry. He got quiet. He watched it twice. Then he looked at me. She just made a tactical error, he said. Error? I choked out. Connor, she's destroying me. She's telling the world I'm crazy and violent. She's threatening to sue me for damages on a $500,000 deal I didn't even know existed. Exactly, Connor said. She just put a price tag on the conflict. She made it about business. And she made a specific, verifiable claim about being attacked. He sat down on the edge of the bed and opened his laptop. To an influencer, image is survival. She is reacting like a cornered animal because you threatened her survival. But in her panic, she overextended. She claimed you demanded money. She claimed you were violent. Those are facts that can be disproven. How? I asked, wiping my eyes. It's her word against mine, and she has 2 million followers. No, Connor said, his fingers flying across the keyboard. It's her lies against her digital footprint. You don't fight a narcissist with emotion, Anna. You fight them with intel. He turned the screen to me. He had pulled up Haley's social media analytics. Stop crying. Start digging. If she's lying about this, she's lying about other things. We are going to find every fake follower, every stolen photo, every lie she has ever told. We aren't going to defend you, we are going to dismantle her. I looked at the screen. I looked at my husband. And for the first time since the slap, I didn't feel like a victim. I felt like a detective. What are we looking for? I asked. Connor smiled, a cold, sharp smile. We're looking for the thing she loves more than herself. We're looking for the fraud. We dug. For 3 hours, the only sound in the apartment was the clicking of keys and the hum of Connor's specialized software. I was sorting through hundreds of photos, cross-referencing dates, locations, and captions. Connor was running background checks, tracking IP addresses, and pulling metadata. It was tedious, mind-numbing work, but with every click, the picture became clearer. Haley wasn't just exaggerating. She wasn't just staging photos, she was building an entire alternate reality. Got something, Connor said, breaking the silence. I leaned over his shoulder. He had a folder open on his screen titled Asset, Leo. My blood ran cold. Inside were dozens of photos. Photos of my son. Photos I had posted on my private, locked Instagram account. Photos I had sent to our family group chat. But they had been altered. In one, Haley had photoshopped herself into the frame, replacing me. In another, she had cropped out Connor's arm and added a filter that made it look like she was holding Leo alone. The captions were even worse. My little love. Mama's boy. So grateful for these quiet moments with my son. I felt sick. She's pretending he's hers? She's been doing it for 6 months, Connor said, clicking through the timeline. Look at the dates. She started posting these 2 weeks after he was born. She created a separate account, hidden from the main family, targeted specifically at baby brands. He pulled up a spreadsheet. It was a list of sponsorships, diaper companies, organic baby food, sustainable clothing brands, all of them sending free products and payments to Haley based on the engagement she was getting from my son. I couldn't find the word. This is kidnapping. Digital kidnapping. It's fraud, Connor corrected. It's theft of intellectual property. It's exploitation of a minor. And it's the leverage we need. He opened another window. This one showed a direct message conversation between Haley and the marketing director for Pure Life. Haley, I'm so excited for the launch. My son and I have been living in these yoga sets. He loves the fabric. Pure Life. That's wonderful. We'd love to see some content of you two together for the campaign, maybe something candid? Haley, absolutely. We're doing a big family shoot this weekend. I'll get the perfect shot. I stared at the screen. That's why she needed him in the shot, I whispered. That's why she was so angry when he spit up. He wasn't just ruining a video, he was ruining her proof. She promised them content she couldn't deliver, Connor said. She lied to a corporation about her identity as a mother to secure a $500,000 contract. That's not just a breach of contract, that's corporate fraud. He sat back, cracking his knuckles. We have everything. The witness testimony of the slap, the medical report of the injury, and now, proof of a 6-month-long fraudulent scheme involving our son. So what do? I asked. Do we call the police? Do we sue her? Connor shook his head. Police will call it a civil matter. A lawsuit will take years and cost a fortune. And neither of those things will stop her right now. She's winning the narrative war. She's got millions of people believing you're the villain. He turned to me, his eyes dark and serious. We need to kill the narrative. We need to cut off the supply. We need to go to the source. The source? The money, he said. The brand. Pure Life. He picked up his phone. I know the CEO. We served together in Kandahar. He's a good man. He hates liars. And he really, really hates people who hurt kids. He looked at me. Are you ready to end this? I looked at the folder of stolen photos. I looked at the lies. I looked at the bruise that was still fading on my son's cheek. Make the call, I said. Connor made the call. He didn't use the phone. He used the encrypted video conferencing app he kept for high-security consultations. While he connected, I paced the small living room of our temporary rental. We had moved 3 times in 3 days, staying ahead of the doxing, the death threats, the reporters camping on our lawn. We were ghosts. But ghosts with receipts. He's online, Connor said. I walked over to the laptop. On the screen was a man I recognized from business magazines. Mark Vance, CEO of Pure Life. He looked tired, but his eyes were sharp. Connor, he said, his voice warm but professional. It's been a long time. You said this was urgent. It is, Connor said. Mark, I need you to look at something. It concerns your new brand ambassador. Connor shared his screen. He didn't say a word. He just started the slideshow we had prepared. First, the video of the slap. The raw footage from the security camera Connor had installed in the living room months ago just in case. It showed everything. The spit-up. The disgust. The slap. The silence. Mark watched, his face hardening. He didn't flinch. But I saw his jaw tighten. Next, the medical report. Dr. Walsh's notes. The photos of the bruising on Leo's cheek. Then, the fraud. The side-by-side comparisons of my private Instagram photos and Haley's altered versions. The timestamps showing she claimed to be bonding with Leo while she was actually in Cabo. The messages to Pure Life, promising content she couldn't deliver because the child wasn't hers. Finally, the video Haley posted yesterday. The fake tears. The lies about me attacking her. The threat to sue for damages on the Pure Life contract. When the presentation ended, the silence on the call was deafening. Mark Vance took a slow sip of water. He looked at Connor. Then he looked at me. That's your son? He asked. Yes, I said. Leo. And she's your sister? Yes. Mark nodded. He picked up his phone and dialed a number. He put it on speaker. Get legal on the line, he said. And PR. And security. We have a situation. He looked back at the screen. Connor, Anna, I am so sorry. You have my word. This ends today. One more thing, Connor said. She's holding a family meeting tonight. She thinks she's going to get Anna to sign an NDA. She thinks she's won. Mark's eyes narrowed. Is she? No, Connor said. We're going, and we want you there. Mark didn't hesitate. Send me the address. 2 hours later, we were in the car. I was wearing my best suit. I had my hair pulled back, my makeup done. I looked like an architect again. Not a victim. Not a crazy sister. A professional. Connor drove. He was calm, focused. He reached over and squeezed my hand. Ready? He asked. I took a deep breath. I thought about Leo, safe with our friends. I thought about the slap. I thought about the lies. I'm ready, I said. We pulled up to the house. My parents' house. The place where I had learned to be invisible. The place where I was supposed to be the scapegoat one last time. The driveway was full. Haley's white Range Rover. My parents' sedan. And a black town car I didn't recognize. We walked up the steps. I didn't knock. I used my key. They were in the living room. Haley was sitting in the center of the sofa, looking like a queen holding court. My parents flanked her, looking grave and important. When we walked in, the room went silent. You're late, Haley said, checking her watch. And you didn't bring the apology letter. I brought something better, I said. Connor stepped forward. He placed his phone on the coffee table, face up. Hello, Haley, Mark Vance's voice filled the room. Haley froze. She looked at the phone. She looked at me. And for the first time in her life, the golden child looked terrified. Haley, Mark said again, his voice echoing in the silent living room. We need to talk about your contract. Specifically, the morality clause. Haley's face went white. She scrambled for the phone, stammering. Mark, I didn't know you were. This is a private family matter. My sister is having a breakdown. Stop. Mark cut her off. The word was a blade. I've seen the video, Haley. I've seen the medical report. And I've seen the hundreds of photos you stole to defraud my company. He didn't yell. He didn't need to. The partnership is terminated, effective immediately. Our legal team will be contacting you regarding the return of the advance and damages for breach of contract. And Haley, if you ever mention my brand again, we will sue you for everything you own. The call ended. The screen went black. For a second, there was no sound. Then, Haley screamed. It wasn't a scream of remorse. It wasn't a scream of apology to the sister she had framed, or the nephew she had assaulted. It was the scream of a parasite losing its host. You ruined it, she shrieked, lunging across the coffee table. $500,000. You jealous, miserable bitch. You ruined my life. Connor stepped in front of me, but he didn't need to. I wasn't afraid of her anymore. I watched her tantrum with clinical detachment. She wasn't crying about losing her family. She was crying about losing her audience. Haley, stop! My mother yelled, but she wasn't looking at Haley. She was glaring at me with a hatred I had never seen before. How could you? How could you do this to your sister? You just cost this family $500,000. Is that what I'm worth? I asked quietly. $500,000? We could have fixed this, my father shouted, his face purple. We could have handled this internally. You just destroyed her future. No, I said. I just turned the lights on. I looked at them one last time. My mother, checking her phone to see if the news had leaked. My father, calculating the financial loss. My sister, sobbing about her engagement metrics. They weren't a family. They were a corporation, and I had just liquidated their assets. We're leaving, I said. Do not contact us. If you do, the police get the full file. The fraud, the assault, the harassment, everything. We walked out. We didn't slam the door. We just closed it. The snow melted, and the lake finally thawed. Seasons changed, and so did we. 1 year later, I sat on the deck of our new home. It wasn't beige. It was messy and colorful and alive. There were toys scattered on the grass, real toys, plastic and bright, not aesthetic wooden props. Connor was at the grill, laughing with Mark, who had flown in for the weekend. Inside, our friends, our real friends, the ones who helped us move at midnight and guarded our privacy like gold, were setting up for the party. It was Leo's first birthday. He toddled across the deck, chasing a butterfly, his legs sturdy and strong. There was no mark on his cheek. There was no fear in his eyes. He didn't know he had an aunt who viewed him as content. He didn't know he had grandparents who viewed him as collateral damage. He only knew he was safe. I picked him up, burying my face in his neck, smelling the sunscreen and grass. I thought about the text I had received from my mother 6 months ago, a desperate plea for money because Haley's legal bills were piling up. I hadn't replied. I hadn't felt guilty. I had just pressed delete. We had built a sanctuary. It had cost us everything we thought we knew about family. But looking at my son's smile, I knew we had gotten the better deal. We had traded a lie for a life. If you've ever had to choose your peace over your bloodline, hit that like button. And if you want more stories about breaking cycles, subscribe and ring the bell.